as it is. I've actually got a little something something. A little something something to talk. And Shikabushka! It's the timeline, everyone. I'm moving the wrong thing. It's the timeline. Ooh. Now, whilst you can look at that, I'm going to bust out my Hyrule Historia. I've read this more times than I can count. And honestly, if you just let this flop open, it will open on the timeline. But of course, it doesn't do that now when I need it to. Come on, we're getting there, we're getting there, we're getting there. Right. So I think it's all collectively sort of established by now that this is all of this is essentially bullshit. And basically, fans asked for a timeline. Nintendo went, throw it in some sort of order and make it make sense. There are some games that have solid links of it. Yeah, solid connection. Let's not keep making that a joke 10,000 times this stream. For example, links, Link to the Past and Link Between Worlds. It's a Link Between Worlds is a direct sequel to Link to the Past. Majora's Mask is a direct sequel to Ocarina of Time. There are characters. The Link in, sorry, the hero's shade in Twilight Princess is the Link from Majora's Mask. Obviously, much much older and dead. Um, Wind Waker, Phantom Hourglass, and Spirit Tracks all very directly linked. Actually, I believe it is actually the same link in all three games. Same link in the same Zelda. Oracle of Ages, Oracle of Seasons, obviously very, very linked. Which I'll move all this in a minute. There are some that have very tangible links, connections. So let's just start from the beginning. The beginning is obviously Skyward. I understand that Skyward Sword is the beginning one. In actual fact, the Hyrule Historia at the back. If I, at the back, see this here? That's the beginning of a little sort of graphic. Well, let me just show you the first page. It's like a. People are gonna crucify me for saying it's like a comic. You can see there. It's the story of the original Link. The very first Link, and the very. I don't think there is a Zelda. There is Zelda. I don't think there is. I don't think that's. No, that's Hylia. Right, right, right. So in this comic, there is a guy called Link. He was arrested for something, maybe killing someone. I'm not 100% sure on the story. I'm going to say that right straight off the bat. But it tells of the original Link and the goddess Hylia and why and how the island, the Skyward Sword Island, Skyloft, thank you, is lifted up to the heavens, and that this starts the whole resurrection of Link and Zelda. Link is reincarnated basically anytime there's great need. Zelda is reincarnated in the exact same reason, but always in the royal line. I'm pretty sure I haven't finished Skyward Sword. I'm sure there's a reason why Demise I think is the original evil, is resurrected multiple times. Ganon definitely is resurrected. I'm not 100% sure on Demise. Can say that right now. But back to the timeline. So I get, obviously, right at the top. I don't know why I'm moving my mouse around it. Like you can see that. Skyward Sword, 100% is first. I think we can all agree on that. The next few games are kind of bullshit, in my opinion. But but I kind of get why they're there because they don't really fit in. But they are all the next 3 games. You got your Minish Cap, your Four Swords. I say no, just 2 games. My mistake. They talk about Light Force, not like the Triforce. The Light Force of being within Princess Zelda, therefore being highly as sort of essence and power. So yeah, they would squish these two together in the same sort of era, the Force era. Very topical given what date it was yesterday, the day before yesterday and today. Hang on, wait, why's that? I'm confused. Oh, that's Four Swords. Wait a minute, I'm confused already. No. Let's skip through. The more of the bullshittery does come later in the timeline, by the way. And that's Ocarina of Time. We want to go slightly before that. That's Minish Cap. We want to look at Four Swords. Because I'm not, again, it's a game I haven't really played. I say I haven't really played. I haven't played. This Four Swords? Yeah. So the Link, the Minish Cap and Four Swords deal with one other evil called Vati. Yeah, he was a Minish from Minish Cap, who stole like a sorcerer's cap and became evil. And he is in Minish Cap and Four Swords. You can actually see there, again pointing at the screen. Vati is resurrected. So he's the main evil in these two. Then comes the game that changes everything about the timeline. Fucking Ocarina of Time. Oh, Four Swords is a weird one as the story changes depending on if you're playing solo or with friends. So, I'm gonna get onto my personal feelings about this after I explain the timeline. But yeah, it's. I believe these two were just shoved at the beginning because they didn't really fit in anywhere else. But yeah, so Ocarina of Time, love it. Just I've got nothing negative to say about Ocarina of Time apart from the bullshittery that comes with the timeline. So this is where the timeline splits into 3. Okay, you've got the hero is successful. Well, this part is already bullshit in my opinion. The hero is defeated and the hero is successful. Hero is always successful, right? But we actually talked about it at length in Milby's stream because he just finished Ocarina of Time, and so to some of his followers or subscribers came up with some class ideas about how to fix this. We'll get onto that in a second. So the hero is successful. So Ganondorf is defeated. Woo! Now, as we all know, at the end of Ocarina of Time, you are sent back in time to be Child Link. And that's where Majora's Mask kicks off, because Navi flies away. Let's cover child timeline first in this case. Navi flies away, you go looking for her, and the events of Majora's Mask happen, and then you continue, let's say you, Link, continued his journey onwards to find Navi. Now, I believe, basically at the same time, I'm actually going to very quickly check what the historian has to say about this. But it is my belief that actually the Twilight Princess events start happening pretty much at the same time as Majora's Mask. So in Twilight Princess, you have a flashback to when they try to execute Ganondorf. It doesn't go well. He breaks out, he kills the sage, and they whack him in the realm of Twilight. But I'm pretty sure that happens almost immediately afterwards, though, at the same time as Majora's Mask. So it would allow me to read from the book. In Hyrule, Princess Zelda was informed of what would happen in the future by the Link, the Hero of Time. But that's at the very end of Ocarina of Time when you see Link going in to see Princess Zelda More bullshittery on that in just a second. She realized that leaving Ganondorf on his own devices would cause the downfall of her kingdom. Many years later, maybe not at the same immediately after, maybe it's many years later. Why would they just let him run around for many years? Maybe he was imprisoned. Doesn't say. Many years later, Ganondorf, the infamous demon thief who wielded the power of magic, was finally to be executed. Well, there you go. The Ganondorf in this timeline is able to wield magic due to his possession of the Triforce of Power. However, since Link was able to warn Princess Zelda of the future, Ganondorf did not enter the Sacred Realm or lay his hands on the completed Triforce. Ow, less bullshittery. Some of the bullshittery is being solved. Link returned from the future bearing the Triforce of Courage Link returning from the future bearing the Triforce of Courage made it so that Ganondorf was unable to consolidate the omnipotent power of the Triforce within himself. Right, so there was actually a debate in Milby's stream. I've lost the page of a timeline. Of what... When Link goes back in time, at the end of Ocarina of Time, at what point does he return? Does he return basically at the exact same moment as Child Link lifts the sword up for the first time? But in doing so, by lifting the Master Sword up, he opens the door to the Sacred Realm. Now, does putting the Master Sword back close that door? One would assume. But when you see Link go into, at the very end of the game, when you see Link go to Zelda and Zelda turns around, she kind of looks the same as when she looked when they first met. So she was like, oh, who are you? Surely she should know. Surely it must have been a more of an expression of, I'm sorry, did you forget something? You're meant to be busy. Chop chop, Link. Time's a ticking. That would have been my reaction either way. So some people think, oh, did they get sent back to before they met? Were they meeting again for the first time? But if that were true, then he would have been sent back to the point in time before he got the Zora gem and the Goron gem, which means that the door in the Temple of Time would never have been opened. Which means if he was sent back to that time, he'd be stuck in that room. Which, as we can all agree, would not be ideal. So yeah, there's some bit of a controversy going on there. So, Twilight Princess happens. It's the same time. Basically, it's the same. The Ganondorf in Twilight Princess is the same Ganondorf from Ocarina of Time. But the Links aren't. Or the Zeldas. Two different Zeldas, two different Links. That leads on to the next bit, which I've never played Four Swords and Hyrule's Adventures. I don't know what the look at it, even says here, the reincarnation of Ganon, the resurrection of Vati. So they're just like, oh no, just put both enemies in there and let's see how that goes. Never played Four Sword Adventure. Don't really see the point, personally. Well, I'm assuming that one was on GameCube. And I only had a GameCube very recently. To which I only really played Ocarina of Time, Master Quest, and I didn't even play Wind Waker on it. Because I couldn't bloody find it anywhere. And when I did, it was shitting expensive. So I played Wind Waker on the Wii U, which I still have. Same as Twilight Princess. So yeah, I don't think I'm missing much with Four Sword Adventure, personally. So that's the child era. The child era I can totally get behind. apart from the Four Swords and the Hyrule's Adventure. Now, the adult, oh sorry, this is flying all over the shop. The adult era. Again, I can get behind pretty much all of this, actually. The timeline of this one makes a lot of sense. So basically, when Ganondorf was in the adult timeline, but you get sent back in time, but the timeline for the adults still carry on. That's why the timeline splits there. Okay, so when with Kid Link, that world will grow up without a Ganondorf. In the adult Link timeline, all the bad stuff has already happened, and you came out of nowhere through a time ripple, solved all their problems, and then got sent away again. So, but for them, all the horror and everything Ganondorf did already happened. So that timeline carries on without a link until Wind Waker. Now, the reason Wind Waker is the way it is because Ganondorf is revived, according to that. That's what Ganondorf is resurrected. Why don't we have a little read? Because the first bit I'm not 100% sure, but this is why I bought the book. Alrighty. Da, 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 da. Reading. Ganondorf, formerly sealed away, crawled up from the depths of the earth and enshrouded Hyrule in darkness once more. I should do movie trailers. The prayers of the people were in vain, and the hero never appeared. Out of hope and out of time, King Daphnes Nohansen Hyrule, fantastic name, made his decision. He would entrust the fate of his kingdom to the gods. So basically, what happened there? Back to normal voice. Ganondorf fights his way out of the Sacred Realm where he is imprisoned. Not the Sacred Realm. He's in prison somewhere. He fights his way out and he starts wreaking havoc again. But there's no Link was reincarnated to help solve all their problems for them. You guys are just... Are you listening as well? Top notch. So basically what the king then does is goes, screw it, I'll do it myself. Goes into the Sacred Realm, touches the Triforce like Ganondorf did in Ocarina of Time, but instead of, making the whole kingdom screwed, the king basically says, oh, goddesses, help me, help the kingdom, blah, 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 blah. We need help. What the goddesses said, they gave all the sort of worthy people, just double checking, pretty sure, all the people worth saving were told to head to high ground. Yes, the gods chose which of the king's subjects would ascend to new land, telling them to escape to the tallest mountains. So basically, the people they think were worthy of saving were told head to high ground, and then the goddesses flooded the world. Very Noah-like. So that's why in Wind Waker the world is covered in water. The events of Wind Waker happen. Ganondorf gets stabbed in the face. Lovely jubbly. Then Phantom Hourglass happens, which is a direct sequel. Same Link, same Zelda, same world. I did once play Hourglass. I played through Hourglass once. It was a bit buggy because I think I bought a used copy. It was a lot of fun though. That was a good game. If you haven't played it, try and get it for the DS. I'm not sure how it would work on the Switch, if you can even get it on the Switch. Pretty sure you can't. I'm actually not 100% sure how we can play a Phantom Hourglass in modern times, apart from emulator. But I don't know how emulator would work either. Because there's the one thing... no, the two things I remember about Phantom Hourglass for the DS is, one, the abysmal sword fighting technique, where you literally had to control everything with stylus and the touchpad. So when you had to swing your sword, you had to just do this wildly on the touchpad to make Link go with a sword, which I thought was rather shit. Emulated the mouse replaces touch. However, this Ethereum, that comment leads directly into the thing I remember most about Phantom Hourglass. There was a puzzle. There was a puzzle where you had something on the top screen, something on the bottom screen, and you had to close the DS and then open it again. And the thing on the top had imprinted something on the screen at the bottom, and that solved the puzzle. Now, how do you do that on a Switch? How do you do that in an emulator? I don't know. But that's not a problem for me. That's a problem for the dev who makes it. Anyway, Phantom Hourglass, direct sequel to Wind Waker. You basically... I can't actually remember the plot. So, why don't we read about it? 122 was Wind Waker. Here we go. One thing I do like about the Hyrule story is it has alphabet for Hylian. Now, I'm not saying I'm a nerd, but I'm a nerd because I memorized one and I can write him... Well, I used to be able to write him fluent Hylian. Can't now, though. Just... Ooh, forgotten about it. Right, that's still Wind Waker. That's still Wind Waker. That's still Wind Waker. Here we go. So why are they voyaging around? Hyrule vanished, and the pirates welcomed back Princess Zelda, who had once again became Tetra, the pirate. So they set off in search of a new world. Ah, the ghost ship. I remember the ghost ship. There's a ghost ship. I think they take Tetra. I'm assuming. Yeah, basically Tetra was Princess Zelda. Obviously, was kidnapped. And then Link, obviously, had to find her. Adventures ensue. And so then Spirit Tracks happen, which is when they find a new land. I think it's the same Link. I'm pretty sure it's the same Link. Yes. Yes, it is. It's the same Link. Same Link from Wind Waker and Phantom Hourglass. To get around the new Hyrule, I'm guessing they called it Hyrule again. New Hyrule. Imaginative. To get around New Hyrule, they build train tracks, and I'm assuming there's some sort of demon train. The demon train! It's literally called the demon train. I'm not making this up. That's hilarious. Right, that's it, right. I haven't played Spirit Tracks either. I bought Spirit Tracks. I played it. It kept freezing at the exact same time. Again, I bought it used. You couldn't buy it new. So that's the adult timeline. That's the the adult timeline. That's fine. I'm totally cool. That would be the Doom Train in FF6. Well, exactly. Actually, no, isn't Doom Train also in FF8? So yeah, adult era, as it's called there, totally fine with it. Child era, mostly fine with it. Now, here's where I call bullshit. Or this is where I call shenanigans. Right? The hero is defeated. I'm sorry, what? I'm saying it. I'm sorry, what? When I play Link, he wins. Alright? No defeat here. But I just don't understand. Let me explain. The whole theory is behind the hero is defeated timeline, and why I believe all, because if you look at all the games in the hero is defeated timeline, right, you have A Link to the Past. These are actually well, no, Oracle of Ages, Oracle of Seasons. You do actually see Ganon if you do some after, again, more bullshittery there. Link's Awakening, and then you got Legend of Zelda and Adventures of Link. Now, I believe the only reason any of these games are in the Heroes Defeated timeline is because all of their big bad evil, apart from Link's Awakening, is Ganon. All right, it's Ganon, not Ganondorf, not Vati, not Demise, Ganon, which was the original evil in these games, because Legend of Zelda 1 and 2, Adventures of Link, are right here around me right now. Now, their big bad was Ganon. So, I think they did the following. They were like, kid timeline, child timeline, all these games above me and to the right of me and below me, they don't really fit because they talk about Ganon. What can we do? Make a hero is defeated timeline. So the story is that with the hero defeated, Ganon emerges from Ganondorf, no longer needing to hide in the mortal coils of a man, and is the proper Ganon is released. Which is why in A Link to the Past, it is Ganon rather than anything else. Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons, if you do some stuff with secrets and codes and stuff, because the bad, I believe, let me confirm, page 92. I believe the enemies in hang on, just getting there. The enemies in Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons, which are Varen and Onyx, I believe. Onyx. I'll find out in a second. The sorcerer's Varen. I thought I heard something. Onyx. Nailed it. They are generals. Oh, it's bloody Breath of the Wild stuff playing in the background. They're generals of Ganon's armies. Right. So yeah, that's Oracle. That's the Breath of the Wild music playing in my ears. I don't know if you guys can hear it. They could have put those in after the ones where Ganon originated in. It is a Summon GF reference. Yeah. So hang on, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, so you can fight Ganon, but I believe you had to have both games, and then when you beat the final boss Varen or Onyx, they gave you like a code that you can put into the other game, and then you could then fight Twin Rover, who are manipulating Varen and Onyx, and then you got the Ganon. So there is Ganon in those games. Link's Awakening, to my right here, I'll put him just above me, my favourite. No Ganon. At all. No Ganon. No Ganondorf. No Vati. No Demise. Brand new game. Because I don't think many people know this. Link's Awakening was a side project by the devs of Zelda. A complete side project. It was being done in their spare time, not part of work, like their work day at all. It was something they were doing, weekend, evening sort of thing, until the big higher ups saw it and went, ooh, let's make that a game. Which is why you have so many references to other games like Yoshi. I think there's a picture of Peach in there somewhere. The Goombas are in there as enemies. There's a lot of references to other Nintendo games within Link's Awakening because they were just using references because they could, because it was a side project, not an official game. Now, I believe when people question it, they go, oh, it's because it's all a dream. Woo! It's not. That's the reason why. But there's no mention of Ganon at all, or anything like that. So why it's here? That could have been put in any of the timelines, but for some reason they put it in this one. Don't know why. Now the last two games, Legend of Zelda, and so you can see Breath of the Wild still there. The Adventures of Link and Legend of Zelda, the first one, I haven't played them, so I can't really attest to anything about them and their place among this branch of the timeline, apart from the fact they both have Ganon in them, which kind of fits the narrative that Nintendo have spun and pushed and forced their way into this timeline. Now, there was a really good suggestion as to what this timeline should have been, and I thought it was bloody genius, but I can't remember it now. Give me a second, I'm going to rack my brain. I don't remember it. It made so much sense. But what my biggest I suppose I should really finish the timeline because this is incomplete. This is pretty similar to the one I have in my Hyrule Historia, but this was obviously made before Breath of the Wild. I actually don't need this anymore. It was made before Breath of the Wild, and obviously before Tears of the Kingdom. So now I can talk about where Breath of the Wild comes in this timeline. There was a lot of questions, controversy, and debate over this very subject. A lot of people saying, "Oh, there's this evidence that it goes in this timeline. There's a lot of evidence that goes in that one, or the one in the far end." So I will go through them now. If you don't already know them, if you know them, quick recap. So the reason they believed it was in the adult era is because of Wind Waker. Okay, so when you pick up Salt, let's see if it's actually in game. I should have some Salt in my inventory. Where would it be? It's somewhere. Excuse the yawn. There. Rock Salt. It's not there. But I think it's when you pick it up. It mentions okay, there's a general belief. I can't remember the exact details. Link's Awakening could have been at the very beginning. It could have been right at the very beginning. Now I think about it, I think there might be a reason it is there. I'll get to that in a second. The fact that there's rock salt everywhere, and I think there's a line that says, "Oh, the fact that this rock salt was here suggests that there was once a great ocean here." The only game that has a great ocean is Wind Waker. So, because there's a reference about a great ocean in Breath of the Wild, they think Wind Waker. There are some people who think it has a direct link to Twilight Princess because of there's a mention. Zelda has a mention of something about Twilight. I wonder if I could play it. Could I play it? Don't think I can. Well, that's aggravating. It'd be really cool if you could replay that memory. That is such bull. Da, 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 da. Oh, that's a good picture of the dragon. Anyway. Oh yeah, I even took a picture of the grey skeletons. That's hilarious. Sorry, I just found this picture I'm going to show you. Way go, Link. Check that out. Pretty funny. Yeah, she makes reference to Twilight. And so they're like, oh, Twilight, Princess. Whoa. That's basically what's going on. Will you stop it, please? That's basically it. But more evidence for Twilight Princess comes later. Now, there is reason to believe that this game is also part of the Hero Falls timeline, because in Breath of the Wild you have an enemy called the Lionel. And if anyone who has fought a Lionel knows, they're bloody tough to kill. But the only timeline, the only games, sorry, I should say, the only games that also feature Lionels are in the Hero Defeated timeline. So how can you have elements from this timeline, that timeline, and the furthest timeline, all three of these timelines, how can you have all three of them in one game? Well, because they have made it so all three timelines end in a single game, which is Breath of the Wild. That's not really how time works. I know I'm getting super nerdy in physics again, but that's not how that works. You can't have timelines that branch and then come together in one point and then have references from all three timelines. It doesn't work that way. So I think that's the official standing of Nintendo. What we do know for certain, but we know 100% that shadow of doubt is someone asked, his name escapes me, Mr. Nintendo, Mr. Zelda from Nintendo. Someone asked him explicitly, does Breath of the Wild come before or after Ocarina of Time? And he just went, oh, it's after. That's it. I wonder if the child and adult timelines merge after Four Swords and Spirit Tracks. It wouldn't make sense though, because New Hyrule in the adult era would have all this ocean, all the effects from having a massive ocean on the planet and then dried away, and then New Hyrule and stuff. But the child era doesn't have any of that, so you can't. The only way, right, you can have a timeline and a branch, right? Two different timelines. The only way for them to ever merge again is if the exact same conditions are met. So, for example, just give me a minute. Okay. This is the easiest example, don't read anything into this. I make a decision, I'm going to go to London. Okay? And during that journey, I die. Right, I'm in a car crash and I die. Another timeline splits because I decide, instead of going down this motorway, I'm going to go down that motorway. Oh, let's assume that no one else is hurt during this crash. Okay, no one's hurt, no other injuries, no other. I fly off the road, I fly off the motorway and roll in a field, and I die. Timeline splits when I decide, oh, I'm actually going to go down this motorway instead of this motorway. Two different routes go to London from where I live. It's a thing. And so the timeline splits. Two timelines. Either Panda goes on this motorway or Panda goes on this motorway. And for them to merge, don't forget, in this timeline I die, right? They could only merge again if in this timeline I die as well. So if, let's say I go on that motorway and I also fly off the motorway, roll in a field and die, right? Then the timeline can merge again because nothing's different. I'm still dead. The same things happen. People cry, funeral, life insurance for that one. If the exact same thing, they would be identical. The sort of conditions would be identical in both timelines, so you could merge them. Does that make sense? I really hope it does. So you can't have the adult and child timeline merge because events in each of them are so wildly different. One of those kingdoms was flooded by a vast ocean that would change the landscape forever, and the other one didn't have that at all. So I don't think any of these timelines could merge realistically. I know I'm applying actual physics laws to a video game. I'm aware. Even if you don't, it just feels wrong. However, Tears of the Kingdom, in my mind, has direct ties, direct connections, irrefutable connections to Twilight Princess. Because of what happens in the trailer, the reason I bring it up is there's a possibility of a Great Flood in one part of Four Swords story. Oh, I did not know that. See, this is what happens when I talk about a timeline when I haven't played all the games. I'm going to have to look into that one. So, no, because then... Okay, hang on. Ooh, logic. Thinking. Logic. So what you're saying is, in Four Swords story, the multiplayer side, so again, that's a different timeline, isn't it? So in Four Swords, you have a single player timeline and a multiplayer timeline. Okay? So now there's 4 timelines. And you're saying in the multiplayer timeline, so in this timeline, there's a possibility of a Great Flood, but it gets stopped. The single player plays out differently. Exactly. So that's the single player and multiplayer are 2 very different timelines. Okay? But in the multiplayer, you say that there's a possibility to stop the Great Flood. But let's assume, like Ocarina of Time and the hero being defeated, that there is a possibility that it doesn't get stopped. And there is a Great Flood. That again branches the timelines into 5 timelines now, at least. Right? So, yes, theoretically, you could tie in that flood with the flood in Wind Waker and have those 2 merge at some point, potentially. But you still have now created another bunch of timelines. Because if you think about it, right, you think about this. Look, this is my problem with the heroes defeated timeline thing, right? You could have that timeline in any of the games, couldn't you? In fucking Minish Cap, you could have a timeline where Vati wins. In Four Swords, you could have a timeline where Vati wins. You could have... It is a bit of a mess. In Majora's Mask, you could have a timeline where the moon does crash into the planet. And everyone dies. And then from the ashes of that, it's rebuilt, and Link is born again, and so is the great evil, and blah 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 blah. In Twilight Princess, you could have the same thing where the Twilly take over Hyrule, and darkness reigns forever. And in Oracle of Seasons, Oracle of Ages, you could have that Link is defeated in either one of those. In Link's Awakening, you could have it so he never wakes up. In Link to the Past, which now I guess they should technically now have. I don't know why I'm moving my mouse again. You can't see it. Between Link to the Past and Oracle of Seasons and Ages, you should have Link Between Worlds. You could have in Link Between Worlds where the mirror world, whatever it's called, takes the Triforce from your world, and you're screwed, basically. So yeah, if you go down the same route as Ocarina of Time has, where it splits into 2 originally, heroes successful or heroes defeated, you could have that for any of these games, and this goes from 1 into 3 to, well, starts as one timeline into hundreds of timelines, which is why I believe what they should have done, what they could potentially still do, is make a Zelda multiverse. Calm down, guys. Have a Zelda multiverse, which would explain why all these different, you know, it it would make sense. It would make way more sense than the timeline, right? Because you can have all these different universes where you have a link. You could make them all happen at the same time. You could have make it so all these different universes only had one link, right? It's not a reincarnation. It is a single being called Link, and they have their take Twilight Princess. I don't know why; it's just one of my favorites. In that universe, that is the Link, and that's when bad stuff happens, and then he solves it, and then all is good. Which I can only assume, right? You have to assume because we can only work with the information that we're given. Is that, for example, in Twilight Princess, right? Before shit hits the fan, everything was fine. Everything was grand. Link lived his life as a farm boy. Everything was good. They had no problems. There was no evil. Until suddenly there was. And so the events of Twilight Princess happen. And he fights Ganon. He fights Ganon. And then he stabs Ganon in the chest. What happens after that? We can only assume, given the information that we have, everything's fine. They go back to their life. They live out the rest of their lives happy as Larry. Nothing ever happens again. Who's not to say that's a single universe in a multiverse where everything was fine, everything's grand. Yeah, they might have squabbles between each other now and then. There's life, but that's the great evil that comes. They defeat it. It goes away. Happy ever after. You could say that same thing for all of these games. Multiverses makes more sense. That's what I'm saying. You can have games that obviously link into each other, like connect to each other, like Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Link to the Past, Link Between Worlds, Oracle of Seasons, Oracle of Ages, Wind Waker, Phantom Hourglass, Spirit Track. All happen in one universe. You could totally have that because they make sense. They are direct sequels. That's grand. All for it. Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, direct sequel. But that's in one universe. Totally fine with that. But trying to make a link between all these games, and also given the fact that all the maps are wildly different. Take the Breath of the Wild map. Let's have a look, shall we? Right, let's have a look at this map, shall we? The Hyrule Castle is flat bang in the middle, with Death Mountain top right, some Frozen Mountains top left, Lake Hyrule, Lake Hylia? Lake Hylia. Directly south of the castle, right? Now, Azora's Domain, bottom right, and Gerudo Desert to the left, bottom left. If this was is this meant to be the same Hyrule as Ocarina of Time, for example? It's a mess. Oh, and Kokiri Forest is there. Korok Forest, sorry. If this was meant to be the same place as Ocarina of Time, if it's the same timeline, then Korok Forest, you can rename it, I don't give a shit, should be down where this place is. And this being, this is Zora's Domain? No, this is just, Zora's Domain is up here. Which actually, that actually makes sense for Ocarina of Time map. Death Mountain is... Yeah, Death Mountain is basically next to Zora's Domain. But in that case, Death Mountain should be more online with Hyrule Castle and Hyrule Village, which is what this is. Yeah, this is meant to be Hyrule Castle Town. It basically should be over here, where Zora's Domain is, and Zora's Domain should be slightly further south. Okay? Gerudo Desert should be more over here. I know it's only a slight difference, but you know. So the maps vary so wildly between games. It's hard to imagine there's any sort of tectonic activity which we've never seen any evidence of that would shift the kingdom around so wildly. I mean, unless there are multiple places on the planet called Hyrule, there are multiple places with the same names. I mean, maybe we have several places called London or New York or you can reuse place names. That's all I'm saying. But I don't know. For me, this doesn't seem very feasible. But anyway, I want to go back to a previous point. I've just remembered it. I believe there is a semi tangible link between Oracle of Seasons, Oracle of Ages, and Link's Awakening. Let me see what the Hyrule Historia says on the matter. I believe there is actually a connection. This is I don't know what this is. Oh, this is Gareth. Oh, there it is. Okay, so yes, one paragraph is what connects Link, or Oracle of Seasons, Oracle of Ages, and Link's Awakening, which again are meant to be the same link. Okay, one paragraph. I shall read it to you. Bidding a fond farewell to all the people he had met during his trials, Link boarded a ship and set sail for the next land in which he would train. That's it. Link was in the midst of journeying back to Hyrule by boat after finishing his training. During his voyage, he was caught in a storm that sank his ship. Upon regaining consciousness, Link found that he was washed ashore on an island called Koholint, which is Link's Awakening. So I guess the theory is that this Link, for whatever reason, whatever possessed him to do it, is boating around the world, maybe in a vast ocean. Oh, which is actually why I thought maybe Link's Awakening should be in the furthest timeline, but whatever. So yeah, that's the. Apparently, he's meant to be boating around, training for something. And yeah, he has Oracle of Seasons, Oracle of Ages adventures, followed by Link's Awakening. To what end? Not 100% sure. Let's see what it says at the end of Link's Awakening. Ah, well, I've just seen one line that blows that out of the water. Though Link the hero had once rescued Hyrule, it came to pass that he was also responsible for the annihilation of the dream world. He set sail on another voyage, and his further whereabouts are unknown. I'm now reading about the adventures of Link. Fair enough. Wait, what? Wait, what? What happened? The tragedy of Princess Zelda. Even then, it is a little bit iffy if it's the same world but different area with the same names as the placement are subtly off with the Korok. Well, exactly. Yeah, no, the Korok forest is most displaced. But also, the Temple of Time. If we go back to the Breath of the Wild, if we pause Hyrule Historia for just a moment and head back to the map, in Ocarina of Time, for example, The Temple of Time is just off the side to Castletown. Should be roughly over here somewhere. But the Temple of Time, for some reason, is now mysteriously over here. How the fuck did it get there? Fuck if I know. So yeah, the tragedy of Princess Zelda. I'm just going to read to you now because I actually don't know what this is about. What? Sorry, my chair keeps creaking on my desk. I'm just going to lower it a smidge. There you go. Following the king's death, and no crest appearing upon the hand of the prince. Prince? What prince? Okay, so I'm just reading about the adventures of Link. Call it the Golden Era, which I think you can. I think I might need to scroll the image down a bit. Yeah, you can see the Golden Era here, and then the Era of Decline. I'm going to paraphrase, and I'm going to read the whole thing. So the king uses the power of the Triforce to upkeep the land, basically. Those who wielded the Triforce were required to possess. Those who wielded the Triforce were required to possess the unique characteristic of having been born with a heart free from wickedness. The rulers used the power of the Triforce to help the kingdom expand and flourish. So one king who thought the Triforce might be misused after he died hid the Triforce of Courage. The monarch's magic ensured a crest would appear upon a worthy person who had been properly raised once they had reached a certain age and gained enough experience. Now he had a son and a daughter. So this ruler saw more promise in Princess Zelda and passed on the Triforce to her in secret. So I'm just very quickly reading. Oh damn! Oh damn! Scandalous! I love it. So basically, the prince hired a wizard to find out where the Triforce was. Well, the prince is now the king because the old king died. So now the prince is the king, but he doesn't have the Triforce, even though he's the king, and so he hired a wizard to find it. Princess Zelda was interrogated by the wizard and the king, but she confessed nothing. The wizard lost his temper and threatened to use magic to cast a spell that would cause the princess to sleep for all eternity. So the wizard did just that, cast a spell, and Zelda crumpled where she stood. And that became the legend of Princess Zelda the First. Raise your hand if you see a discrepancy in this story. I think you'll find Princess Zelda First was all the way back in Skyward Sword. That's all I'm saying. There's more. Mad with grief and regretting what he'd done, the young king placed his sleeping sister, Princess Zelda, on an altar in the North Castle in the hope that she would someday be revived. To ensure this tragedy would never be forgotten, a custom was established that decreed that every girl born into Hyrule's royal family would be given the name Zelda. The story became the legend of the first Princess Zelda. The king reformed his way and governed the land to the best of his ability, but the kingdom continued to fall into decline. How? He raised his hand, exactly. How is that in this game right above my head? A game that is, to my eyes, pretty far down the timeline. Meant to have the first Princess Zelda. I call bullshit. I call shenanigans. I'm so glad I read that. Oh dear. Oh, dearie, dearie me. Dearie, 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 dearie me. So, yes, I suppose Link's Awakening can somehow be connected to Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons. I get it. Kind of. And that leads evidence to a large ocean if he's boating around different kingdoms training. So maybe that could somehow merge back into the adult timeline over there. And oh, if there's meant to be a great flood in Four Swords Adventure, maybe, yeah, maybe they could merge. I guess. But it doesn't stop the fact that for me, Tears of the Kingdom is very, in my eyes. I want to keep saying in my opinion because as soon as I say this is definite, this is evident, this is 100%, dumb people's gonna go, oh, actually, that's not quite true, is it? And I just can't be asked. In my view, my opinion, I believe Tears of the Kingdom and Twilight Princess like this. I think there's a direct connection. So that's timeline. How long have I been talking about time? I swear it's been like nearly an hour. Been talking about this bloody timeline.